It's 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Freethought in Florida. Freethought in Florida is a production of the Atheist community of Polk County. I'm Sarah Ray. I'm your host. With me tonight, Becca Ray in the studio.
Hello.
We're so close together. And before I say your name, let me unmute you. I'm having muting problems tonight. And Allie Ashmead. Allie, how are you?
Woohoo! I'm good.
Welcome, everybody. This is Friday, the 16th of July, 2021. Before we get into it, we want to thank our wonderful patrons over at patreon.com/polkatheists who make all of this thing happen almost every week. We were gone last week. Well, maybe we'll talk a little bit about that in the patron bonus. But we want to thank all of our patrons. We want to extend a warm welcome to our newest patron, Russell. Thank you, Russell, for becoming a patron.
What's up, Russell?
We'll see if he re-earns his name.
Re-earns his name.
We know Russell.
Russell's my brother.
Oh,
My baby brother.
So you too can be like Russell, make a monthly pledge to support the show, get access to the bonus Patreon content that we do. We tend to hang around after the show and chit-chat a little bit. And know that you're helping us fight the good fight here in the great state of Florida. So thank you for that. And of course, you can always rate, review, make sure you subscribe, hit the bell, do all the things, smash that like button, whatever that is the kids say, and give us all the stars or whatever the ratings are, the charcoal briquettes, or wasn't that Sue Johansson who used to rate sex toys on, and she'd rate them like on how hot they were based on
You see that like I was allowed
briquettes.
to watch such a vulgar.
what?
Do you
I missed
not?
that.
Do you remember Sue Johansson? She did Talk Sex with Sue Johansson. It was a whole thing. Oh my God! How do you people not know this?
I don't know.
Am I that old?
A little bit, babe.
I'm older than you, Sarah, so I don't know. I missed that. I missed it.
Yeah. Anyway, look that up. Everybody go
Okay.
Google Talk
Oh
Sex
my
with Sue.
God.
That's it. That's the announcements. How are you all doing? Everything good?
Trying not to spontaneously combust in
Right.
this heat, and like hoping that my AC can just hang on a little bit
Hang
longer.
on for one more day.
Oh, I was thinking. So just hang on to what
we got.
There you go.
Oh my gosh.
We got a lot. We
should
of
do-
heat
we-
between.
We should do like the gayish boys, and anytime somebody makes a song reference, we add it to a Spotify playlist.
Oh my God. That list would be so full of hymns just with you and
yes, yes, that's true. You're right.
Devin. Let's not.
No,
and say
not
we
the
didn't.
hymns.
There's another show I listen to that they're doing it's the Oh No Ross and Carrie. They're doing they did their fund drive on their podcast network. So the real podcasts have networks and they do these big things. Anyway, their thing was like if they reach a certain level in the pledge-a-thon, that they would record an album of the two of them singing like old praise and worship and hymn songs that they remember from their childhood.
No.
Yeah, I think that would be fun too. Or whatever, I screwed up. So anyway, we were not here last week. So apologies if you were looking for us last week.
Sorry.
We were out of state at a family wedding, and I think we'll talk about that maybe later in the Patreon bonus.
Jeez. What are you doing?
I'm checking the thing.
Oh my God. You're fired.
It's been one of those days. It's been one of those weeks.
I will say I
Been
did
one of
not
those
enjoy the
years.
rental car, but
Oh no, the rental car was garbage.
Oh.
I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah, it was fun.
if you want to hear it,
Yep, if you want to hear it,
Tune in.
go click that Patreon button.
here you go.
Yep.
So let's just dig right into the news. We got some time to make up for since we weren't here last week. Got a lot to talk about. the first story that I pulled, not for that I have a lot that I want to say about it, other than to like defend the how dare you besmirch the good name of Satanism. So this one comes from the Floridian. Salazar calls communist Cuban regime a satanic nightmare. Now, I don't know how close anybody has been watching this whole thing playing out in Cuba, but the story goes as Cubans on the communist island of Cuba took to the streets to protest decades of oppression, so too did the Cuban American exile community in Miami and around Florida to show solidarity with the Cuban people and to denounce the satanic nightmare. The satanic nightmare that is the regime in Cuba. I think it deleted a word there. That is the communist regime in Cuba, I think. Representative Maria Elvira Salazar, who is of Cuban descent and born in the Little Havana community of Miami-Dade County, appeared on Fox News where she excoriated the regime, saying the protests in Cuba were, quote, the beginning of the end of the communist rule that the late dictator Fidel Castro first instilled. Quote, this is the moment of truth. This is the beginning of the end, and the United States has a historic role in helping those people who, for 62 years, they have been living a satanic nightmare, because that is what the Castro regime is, a satanic nightmare, declared Representative Elvira Salazar.
It's a nightmare for sure, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Why do you gotta use Satan?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. This is just back to the satanic panic. You know, Satan is a placeholder for all things bad.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I haven't been watching terribly closely all the things going on because we've been traveling and had a lot going on.
Just there's a lot, there's protests in South Florida. I think it's interesting, that whole anti-riot bill that, DeSantis.
Yes.
And now, and of course,
that's much better.
That's right. And then I just think it's interesting and a bit hypocritical, because they were, they're kind of, there's been protesting like going on for several days, but now they're starting to block the roads, and
right.
And now DeSantis is kind of like, okay, mad. They're mad. Had this been a BLM protest,
yes.
those people would have been arrested already,
a long time ago,
and stopped.
Yeah.
But.
Yep. The next story. So this is something that we talk about often on the show. I did a whole presentation on it a couple of years ago, and I need to update it because the super secret Christian right state legislative campaign Project Blitz has gotten some more updates. And so just the little background, sort of when this whole thing came out, it was a 40-some page PDF document that outlined sort of the Christian right state policy goals and poor talking points and bad, like, cherry-picked quotes to back it up, and all of this stuff that they wanted to do, and it was sort of hidden, and then we figured it out. And then over the course of the last few years, they've tried to change the name, and I don't even know if it says that in here, but there was a piece of audio that we got from a call that had taken place, and they were changing it from Project Blitz to Faith and Freedom for All or something like that. Ooh. So they're like, these people are talking about Project Blitz, but that doesn't exist anymore. It's like, okay, but we still know who you are and what you're about. Right. It's the same thing.
You can change the name.
They think that we're stupid because their followers are all stupid. It doesn't work that way.
So they they sort of update it every year. Basically, the idea was like, here's some model legislation, things that we want to try to pass. In that very first version, it was 3 different categories, sort of based on how easily they thought it would be to pass these things.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so here we passed the In God We Trust on Our Schools bill that, right. So that one was in the easy to pass category. Nobody's going to, push back on that because it's just the national motto. Like, it's not a big deal.
Right.
And so there was a whole bucket of those that they thought would pass very easily. And then there were some other ones that were like straight up Christian Dominionist theocracy stuff. A lot of them had to do with like attacks on LGBTQ people. So anyway, they sort of revisit it annually. This comes from the Congressional Prayer Caucus Foundation, which is the Randy Forbes group. They work alongside the Congressional Prayer Caucus. So this is sort of their bill mill, right? And this comes to us from Religion Dispatches. In the fall of 2019, secretive Christian right campaign Project Blitz became even more of a secret. When RD first reported on Project Blitz in April 2018, the website featured their annual state legislative playbook of model bills and talking points. They also named the members of the state legislative prayer caucuses that drew on the model bills for their own legislation. But in the face of public scrutiny, RD's revelation of a second playbook and the unwanted media attention that followed from the New York Times, Salon, The Guardian, Religion News Service, USA Today, Church State Magazine, everybody was pissed. The sponsoring Congressional Prayer Caucus Foundation scrubbed everything under the rubric of Project Blitz from their site. One Ohio state senator went so far as to lie to a reporter about even knowing about Project Blitz, despite being the state's co-chair. The Project Blitz playbook for the state legislative session 2019-2020 and 2020-21 remained hidden until now. They've added some new bills, including a dramatic attack on the integrity of public libraries, but the Dominionism-driven Christian nationalist agenda remains the same. The playbooks advise legislators to cloak their religious mission in the guise of more secular intentions, and they've renamed several bills to make them sound more appealing. So let's see.
Sound familiar?
Cloak your intentions in some secular, I don't know, maybe something I'm thinking we're going to put prayer back in school. Maybe we should say
a minute of silence.
Moment of silence. That's a good one. Yeah, let's write that down. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
But the newly surfaced playbooks also tell a story of resilience of democratic institutions and leaders in the face of movements seeking to undermine or end them. In 2020, depending on how you count, 92 bills were introduced, 8 passed. In 2021, so far, 74 bills have been introduced, 14 of which have passed. And that's from Blitz Watch, which is the American Atheists and et cetera watch group. Whether the dip in the number of bills introduced is attributable to COVID-19, the toxicity of the Project Blitz brand, or some other combination of factors is hard to say. In 2020 and 21, 24 of the bills introduced involved displays of In God We Trust on public buildings or on license plates, while 16 were largely about religious exemptions and state versions of the federal RFRA. Project Blitz continues to push its harmful agenda of codifying Christian nationalism. Maggie Garrett, legislative director for Americans United for Separation of Church and State. But public exposure has driven Project Blitz underground. So I thought, I don't want to, this is like a 14-page article. I don't want to do the whole thing, but I do want to talk about some of the things that are new or changed in this new playbook. And I haven't, all I've referenced is this article. I haven't had time to like sit down and actually comb through the Project Blitz document that they finally found.
Yeah.
But I'll have to update my presentation, and if you out there have a group and you want me to present that information to your group, I'd be happy to do that. That's the thing I'll do. I can Zoom it, or if you're here in Florida, I might be willing to travel. So new bills in the 2020-21 Project Blitz playbook. 10 Commandments Display Act.
Really?
So
Here we go.
What's the fool Jason Rapert in Arkansas that's been trying to? He put the 10 Commandments up, and Lucian and the Satanic Temple were like, "Oh, cool, we get to put our monuments up," and showed up with a big Baphomet statue. Yeah. So this one, they're gonna try to spin it as like, and I don't know if you've heard these arguments yet or not, but they tend to make them, because some like courthouses and stuff have pictures of like Noah with the tablets or whatever.
Right.
Moses with the tablets.
We all know what you meant. It's the same.
I don't know how are they going to spin this though. This is blatant religion.
You see, Moses was the lawgiver, and so it makes sense that some of our laws were, they would say all, but some of our laws were based on the commandments, and so you could have other lawgivers too. It wouldn't just have to be ours.
Then why don't we have a monument of the Constitution instead?
I'm with you. Amen.
I mean, if you're the lawgiver in this
yeah.
scenario.
And that is the law of the land.
Right. Like, give the law of this land, not the law of that land, and move on. Let's go.
Devin in the chat says, have Sarah talk to your group. She's great. Oh, thanks, Devin. I will. I'll pay you later.
She gets a cut.
And hey, if you're out there and you want to talk about any of this stuff, give us a call, 253-900-2272. 253-900-2272. See if I can put that on the screen. Are you in Florida? Have you been watching this stuff? Are you out of this? Or if you're watching from out of the state, like, did you know this was a thing? How's it going in your neck of the woods? Right. So 10 Commandments display. Let's put the 10 Commandments up in public buildings. And
then let's put the, like you said, in the other state or whatever that happened, the Satanic Temple needs to come right behind them and put their shit up too. And then,
yeah. And, I'm sure there's lots of work being done on how to counter some of this stuff too. Like, Lucian can't do it all. Like, he's great, but I have a line out to him. He was either going to be on this week or next, but I'm waiting to hear back from him. They just had their Bladensburg Cross Satanic takeover. Great. I watched the video from their thing. It was so good.
Yeah.
So good. But I want to get him on to talk about that and about, how do they decide when to roll the Baphomet statue, into a new place? Like, what are they, what's he looking at as far as like, oh, this is, because how many times have there been a thing happen that we talk about on the show that's like, oh, like the moment of silence thing. Wow, one kid unfurls the Satanist rug and lights a candle, and they will lose their minds. Right. So as many of those are, like, how do you choose?
Yeah.
That's got to be tough. Because I know, like, they're a nonprofit. It's like him and a co-founder, and like it's not very
not a huge
super funded
production.
either. Yeah. Proclamation of Call to Prayer for America Day.
America Day. What's America Day?
No, a Call to Prayer for America Day. Call to Prayer for
prayer
America.
For America.
Call to prayer. So is that different than the National Day of Prayer?
Yes.
Jeez.
Sort of. So the National Day of Prayer is a federal thing, right?
Okay.
Where and I'm sure states observe it, but this would be like enshrine it on a state level too. This says it's based on a memorial adopted by the New Mexico House of Representatives for, quote, the purpose of calling the nation back to prayer and the need for America to turn back to God in prayer, not for a single day or month, but to pray without ceasing.
People gotta work. I mean, you can't just...
No, you gotta work while you gotta pray while you work. You gotta do it all. We got a puppy takeover over here.
Well, she's crying. This is the only way to shut her up.
Yes. That's
so
true.
I think with there's a secular week of action to answer the National Day of Prayer. So then we need to answer with
Yeah,
everything that they come up with.
that
We
we
need to
need to
have some type
counter.
of counter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
The Student Prayer Certification Act. This is sort of one that's it's not really new. That was in the old playbook. There is a federal law that requires schools to submit annually in writing an affidavit that says we don't have any policies that say students can't pray. Now, contrary to popular opinion, students can pray
Yeah.
in school. Students can bring Bibles to school. Students can talk about their beliefs in coursework. Like we all like we know that, and that's okay, and we're fine with that. It's
Right.
when the educators and administrators start
Mm.
imposing
Crossing the
their
line.
religion
Right.
as agents of the government and people in positions of authority. That's when the problem hits. But this is basically the again the national version kind of codified down to the state level. Now, then not only would each school have to submit to the federal government annually that they don't have a policy preventing students from praying, you'd also have to file that with the state Department of Education, which is probably a different form, and that's a pain in the ass. And like again, our schools are cash strapped as it is. Like we're short on employees.
They
This
don't
is
have time to do all this
bullshit
stuff.
we do not need.
Right. This seems so desperate. It's
Mhm.
so very desperate. Yeah.
The Public K-12 School Personnel Protection Act. That's a renaming too, but it basically indemnifies teachers and staff from lawsuits if they violate the law with regard to school prayer.
So they
So
can't be
it puts the
sued.
district on the hook, not the teacher themselves.
I'm sorry, that's totally inappropriate.
Mm-hmm. Right, you're the one who did the thing, not.
Right, especially
us.
especially when you know that most school districts know the laws, know the rules,
Yeah.
and have annual or quarterly meetings to tell these teachers and staff what they can and cannot do.
Yeah.
And so how that irritates me.
Yep. The next one is Preserving Religious Freedom in School Act. Again, this is a rebranding. A broad assertion of the rights of religious expression by students and school employees based on bills introduced in several states in recent years. So again, this is sort of that reaffirmation that, yes, you can wear your Jesus t-shirt to school if it's not you have to wear a uniform or whatever. Yes, you can wear your little cross necklace. You can talk about Jesus in your, in your book report or whatever. That kind of thing.
But you better be able to. Everybody should be able to wear their Satan T-shirt as well.
Yes.
But this is again like this is that camouflage thing that they're doing is like we're not saying it's religion, but it's religion. You know what I mean? It's we're not saying it's about pushing our agenda, but it really is.
Yes. Yes. This one's fucked up. This is a new one. Parental Library Review Board Act. So this is, we've seen this lately in the schools too, where they want to create a pathway for, here it was parents or any community member would be able to challenge curriculum in the school or materials, right? So I don't think you should be teaching evolutions. And then we bring that to this review board and talk about, why evolution is not real or whatever, and how we shouldn't be teaching it in our schools and that sort of thing. So this is similar to that, but would apply to every library in the state. So anybody could go in and say, hey, I don't like this book. I think it should be banned. And they would go before this review board and go through this whole
Public
process.
So
libraries?
dangerous.
Or school libraries.
Public libraries. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Wow, this is so dangerous.
That is vile.
Yep.
That is
So
vile.
so let me read what they wrote. This would empower elected panels over every library in the state. They would have the power to block or remove materials and events, read Drag Queen Story Hour,
Oh shit.
that they
Of course.
deemed to be age inappropriate in matters of sexuality and gender identity. Potential criminal penalties for failure to comply include a fine or up to a year in jail for librarians and defunding of the library by the state.
Wow.
This is how it starts.
That's disgusting.
Yep.
Oh
The
my God.
schools and then the libraries and our reading
Mhm,
material, and next
mhm.
thing you know, there will be books that are banned, and I
Yep.
mean, it just kind of, they're just slowly, like you said, this
Yeah.
playbook. I mean, it's genius in a way, but it's also very, very terrifying.
Mm. Yeah, extremely terrifying.
Oh my God.
Parental Review and Consent for Sex Ed Participation Act. They tried this one here, not by name, but effectively this would require schools to be an opt-in for sex ed instead of an opt-out, right? Where now every student is enrolled in the prescribed sex ed class. If you don't want your kid in it, you have to go in and say, I don't want my kid in it. Where they were trying to flip it to say, nobody gets sex ed.
Unless
We
you ask.
present all the parents with here's what the curriculum is, so you can look it over and you can decide, and you have to say, yes, I do want my kid to take this. So that's going to reduce the number of students who are receiving accurate, medically accurate sex ed, and that's going to increase your teen pregnancy rates and unwanted pregnancies and STDs and STIs. Yep. And abortion rates are going to go up. Like, we know this.
Well, but then they're going to try to
They'll ban that too. So.
ban the abortions, and
Right.
so now they'll have this burst of children that they
Right.
can indoctrinate, and because they're worried right now about their numbers. Right now, let this be honest. This is what this is about. They know that their way of thinking is dying, and this is this is so desperate.
The less that people can become properly educated, the more likely those people will stay within the clutches of the
Terrifying.
They want people to be ignorant.
Right. And then finally, the Campus Free Speech Act. That's another one of those that we talked about that came up here, based on a Wisconsin Senate bill, which was introduced in 2019. The playbook acknowledges that it substantially follows a model bill proposed by the Goldwater Institute. The Goldwater Institute is a business/libertarian think tank affiliated with the State Policy Network, which parallels the Christian Right Family Policy Alliance, the joint state political arm of Focus on the Family, which Allie tried to get me a job at. This is a funny story. We'll save that for patrons.
I'm so sorry, I didn't know.
It was so funny.
Oh my
My
goodness.
bad.
And the
My
Family Research Council. Let me write that down to come back
I
to
didn't read
for the
it.
patrons.
Didn't say anything like.
Family
Yeah, we'll save that for patrons.
Research Council. No, that's not what it was. It was the Focus on the Family.
Focus on the family.
Yeah.
My bad.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, so funny. Okay. So this version of Project Blitz is broken down into 5 different categories now. Category 1 is bills and resolutions about God and country. The In God We Trust Display Act in public schools. Category 2 comprises proclamations that, quote, focus our country's Judeo-Christian heritage, right? So again, and this, all of this is really about sort of first rewriting the narrative to say that we have always been a Christian nation, and we have departed from that, and we need to get back there. And that's not true. Simply not true. Where's Andrew's book?
God.
Pick up your copy of The Founding Myth, Why Christian Nationalism is Un-American by Andrew Seidel. It's a great book. And it completely refutes this idea that we have this Judeo-Christian heritage that we should... Category 3 is reproductive health care and LGBTQ care. Allows religious or conscience exemptions from laws. Again, this one, it says this one doesn't deal directly with abortion access, leaving that to a different group who's working on that. But this is, we're looking at things like if I go into a hospital or an emergency room or a clinic or whatever, and somebody's like, oh, well, I don't believe in trans people, so I'm not going to treat you. They can do that in a lot of places. And they're trying to expand that. We're going to be talking a lot about a counter bill to that over the next, few months. That is the Healthcare Transparency Act. The idea with that is that we know that we can't overturn these exemptions, at least not right now in the state that our legislature's in. And so not being able to say, hey, you got into healthcare, that means you treat people, because that's what healthcare professionals do, and you can leave your biases outside. We're saying, okay, we know we can't overturn that, so at the very least, you have to post somewhere and notify the Department of Health, here are the things we will not do. Here are the people we will not serve, right? These are our exemptions that we're claiming. So that at least when you go to get care, there's a reference material that you can go to and go, okay, well, I'm not going to go to that provider.
Yeah, you're not getting
right?
my business.
So that's the short version. You'll hear more about that coming on.
Sadly, I mean, when you're sick, you go to like the closest hospital. A lot of times you don't have time to read the fine print. You need help, and that's unfair to them to have to be able to hold that over you.
And the shit of it all is right now, you go in and you don't find out until after you've racked up that bill, and so not only are you leaving without any answers, you're leaving with thousands of dollars in bills that you've got to pay that didn't get you anywhere.
Yeah.
So if you had that information before you went,
you would have saved time, money, and maybe your life. Yeah. It's.
Yeah. They also say in the playbook, right? It says opposition to to the measures in this category will often be well organized and well financed. More care must be taken to avoid bringing this legislation to a vote unless the vote can be won. A defeated measure can often hurt more than help and will put allies and leadership in a difficult position. So don't bring this healthcare stuff if you can't get it across the finish line. Category 4, this is talking points to counter anti-religious freedom legislation, which is a breakout of the talking points previously included in other sections. Generally, they insist that there cannot be inherent civil rights regarding sexual orientation and gender identity because those terms are too vague and there's too much disagreement over their meaning. Nope. It also provides arguments against bans on conversion therapy and repeals of state RFRAs. And then Category 5 provides four new model policies dealing with prayer in public settings. Let me see where those are. I wasn't going to read much more of this, but now I think I might want to. It says 3 for public school settings and 1 for municipal settings, such as city council meetings. That's right in my wheelhouse. That's the shit that I deal with.
And so you said something about the ban on conversion therapy. Was that Category 4?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, Category 4. Arguments against. So we're trying to ban conversion therapy because we want to ban it because it's garbage. It's not actual therapy. It's harmful. So this is talking points that you can make to say that whatever.
I mean, there's already 21 states that have banned it already. I don't know which states there are. I know Minnesota recently banned it, but so I can't believe that there's not more. But yes, I can. Yes, I can. I know what am I saying?
Yes. So anyway, that's just know that they're still out there and they're trying to retool to take what they've learned from attempts to pass some legislation here and there and really turn it around and put a fine point on it so that it's more effective. More on that later, I'm sure, as we'll come into more. Speaking of this harmful bullshit, story about the Family Research Council from Right Wing Watch. A recent fundraising letter from the political action arm of the Family Research Council openly describes its legislative attack on access to health care for transgender youth as a political strategy designed to secure conservative electoral victories in 2022. The letter and its accompanying fact sheet on the, quote, Save Adolescents from Experimentation Act, SAFE, S-A-F-E.
Okay.
Save Adolescents from Experimentation.
Wait.
Yep.
Can we say that about the conversion therapy?
Yeah, right.
That's more experimentation than...
Says,
Exactly.
quote, the transgender experiment now preying on thousands of American children.
God, oh my God.
They always have to change the language, like rebrand it as something negative to appeal to, like, and then the people that are listening to their base or whatever don't look any further. They're just like,
Oh, yeah.
yes, feed me more.
Yes.
And then I'll do whatever you say.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
You know, when you told me I could come on the show tonight, you didn't tell me that
warn you.
I was going to be pissed off.
Sorry.
I know. I'm like, can we talk about something positive? Is there anything positive?
We did a show together for 5 years, and you haven't gotten used to this yet?
I guess. Damn.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, ugh.
It's doom and gloom, though, too.
It is. And the other thing that is always like, oh, we have to protect our children. And normally when we're talking about trans people, it's like bathroom, don't let the trans people into the bathroom.
And now
or
they're
whatever, 'cause
experimenting on our children.
Yeah.
They just got to spin it. They just got to keep spinning.
Mm-hmm.
And
They're not victims. They're acting like victims. And they're just so victimized and so persecuted. And,
Yes.
they're the ones doing all the victimizing.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It's the biggest gaslighting thing I've ever seen.
The premise of FRC's fundraising package is a false and malicious insinuation that, quote, experimental hormone treatments and cosmetic surgery are being imposed on children and are destroying the lives of thousands of American children every year. Dun, dun, dun.
I would love to know what child is getting cosmetic surgery because you
Right.
can't. It's
You
illegal.
can't.
Right.
Like
Right.
even at 16, yeah, I think 16 is as young as you can go, but you have to have parental consent.
And here's the thing about hormone treatments. A, they're not experimental. And B, for children, they're not happening.
Right.
What's given to children is hormone blockers.
Right.
Right.
To stop
Anything
the puberty
from happening. It just puts
Right.
puberty on pause
Right.
so that the child can experience what they...
And it's reversible.
Right.
Yeah,
It's-
if the kid as it doesn't happen often, but if the kid goes, you know what, maybe I'm
yeah.
okay. Like, let me go through natural puberty. You can
Right.
stop taking those blockers.
And then puberty happens.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, but if these people would educate themselves at all about anyone who is transgender and because, I mean, there's plenty of stories of transgender men that stop taking their hormones to carry their children.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
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 Like if that's not proof that
Yeah.
all we're doing is stopping the body from doing a little something that you don't want it to do.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But fear is easier. Fear is
yeah.
easier than trying to making the effort to understand. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
FRC claims that gender transition is an experiment, not medical care. April 2021 Harvard Law Review article noted that every major U.S. medical association recognizes that gender-affirming healthcare is a medically necessary treatment for people experiencing gender dysphoria.
yeah,
It's literally
Period.
suicide
Like,
prevention
everybody knows
in
this.
Yes,
a lot of
it is.
cases.
it is.
How you
It
can
truly
say
is.
that's not medical care.
Right. They go on to say, for the record, treatment of trans youth begins with therapy and counseling. Children who have not yet reached puberty generally are not treated with medical interventions, but may be provided with emotional support to transition socially. So you've got a 5-year-old.
Right.
Okay, you want to start wearing clothes that, align more socially with the gender you feel more comfortable in. Okay, you're 5. Who cares?
And and this is like okay. This is just all ingrained in people from a very young age. Boys play with trucks, girls play with dolls. Boys wear blue, girls wear pink. And that's just the way it is. And I had a very hard time because of the way that I grew up, just letting my kids pick their clothes out. It didn't, and it had nothing to do with anything other than control.
Yeah.
But they're human beings too, and you have to give them control of self-expression, or they're not going to be comfortable enough to let you see them as they are.
Yes.
The end.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's been plenty of times that our kids come out of the bedroom and
I buy you these nice clothes and you put that on.
But that's what you want to wear today? I don't give a shit.
Well, when our daughter decided she wanted to cut all of her curls off, it killed me, but I had to let her do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what she wanted.
And she loved it.
She loved it.
She loved it.
And it suits her, but it is. I get as a parent, you want to control every little thing and keep them safe, and you think you know better, but
you gotta let them fly.
You do.
Well.
You gotta...
Also, I understand that there are a lot of people who embark on having kids that have this very strict idea in their minds of my kid, and we've talked about this so many times.
My kid's gonna do this.
My kid's gonna be on the football team like I was. And then when he comes out and the kid decides hey, I'm not
go to Broadway.
Yeah, I'm fabulous, Dad. Then people get all crazy about it. Come on, I want my kids to be happy. That's when we set out to have kids. The only thing we wanted was for them to be healthy and happy.
Right. And I want them to be happy, and I want them to want me to be a part of their happiness. I don't want my kid to be I'm leaving home and I'm not going to talk to mom anymore because she can't understand me and I'm just going to go live my life. Now, I raise them strong enough that they have to do that because for whatever reason I get more, I don't know, whatever as I get older. But, I want them to be able to be happy on their own, but I want to be a part of that. And the only way you can do that is to foster a safe relationship and let them explore. And fuck everybody on the outside who thinks that that's inappropriate. Because you know what? You don't live with my child. You don't know my child.
Yeah. And these people are looking at that and saying, oh, no. You are a neglectful parent. Right. I need to protect your child from you.
Well, they're the same people who think you need to spank a child to get them to do whatever, and that ADHD is not a thing. You just need to spank that child more. No.
No. It's only going to make the problem worse. I mean, if we look at the abuse, they grow up to be abusive adults, and then that cycle continues, and I forget what I was going to say, but
so this law is garbage and we need to be on the watch for that. But again, this is the Family Research Council making it very clear, this is an issue that we are going to carry. In fact, FRC President Tony Perkins, he's a real piece of work, wrote in a letter dated June 2021, quote, this is the fundraising letter. So our strategy is to raise up a powerful nationwide movement of Americans demanding Congress outlaw transgender procedures for minor children by passing the SAFE Act and get every political candidate on record as either for or against it. Our goal, make the SAFE Act the wedge issue of the 2022 midterm elections.
What?
So watch that.
Transgender child is having procedures done.
Right.
Again, they don't understand what's
fear.
Going on. They don't understand
it's the same. About. It's the same as late term abortions. It doesn't exist.
Right.
Right.
Yep. But they can beat this drum and get some fear all worked up in people. And, we got to save the children. I'm going to vote for the people that are saving the children. Definitely. Yeah. But again, like, if you felt like this year in the Florida legislature, we spent an awful lot of time talking about the fucking trans sports ban, it's because we did, and it's because the people who pushed it they're cut from this cloth that say this is going to be our wedge issue, right? The right does this very, very well, and it's been abortion for a long, long time. That like this is our wedge issue, and if you can do anything as a lawmaker, as terrible as you possibly want, but as long as you're going to protect the unborn, those people out there will keep voting you back in. Yeah. And it divides people out, and like, where's the bipartisanship? Where's the working together? Do you remember, like, we used to think about, like, oh, well, they're two different ideologies, roughly, and we all sort of want the same thing. We just kind of have different ideas of how to get there. Either we were lied to, which is more likely, or that doesn't exist now. And it definitely doesn't exist now. We were probably lied to all along. Because we definitely don't want the same thing. We're not out for the same outcomes.
No.
We're not.
No.
We're definitely not.
Completely opposite.
There is...
I know, right?
Like, there's more harm done to children who are circumcised at birth than putting a kid on testosterone blockers for, to pause puberty. Like,
exactly.
Seriously.
They want to talk about
and there's
mutilation
science that proves it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They want to talk about mutilation of children without their permission, without a child's permission.
Yes.
That is a thing. Mm-hmm. And it's not necessary. It's not even necessary. And it's also not done in every country.
Right.
It's just us.
Yep.
We're the barbarians.
Yeah, stop doing.
The barbarians.
Are you going to be all right?
I choked my own, emotion.
Stop circumcising your penis-having children, too. Knock it off. Fucking stop. I need to have those people back on again. That was a good episode we did a long time ago. The next story, if there is a positive story tonight, it's this.
Please.
So we've talked about all this terrible Christian nationalist bullshit, and that we're all sort of really trying to press back against it. Like, Devin and I have been part of this state legislative advocacy team where we're trying to resist these bills, the Project Blitz stuff that's harmful, and now we're working on moving forward some positive legislation that will hopefully help people and limit the harm done by religious exemptions. But where this stuff really needs to change is not anywhere in our pasture. It's on the other side of the fence, right? Like, we get it. We're all there. We're in agreement. But there is more and more lately seems to be churches, faith leaders, religious organizations who are seeing this and being vocal about their opposition. So this story comes from Religion News Service. On January 6th, Josh Scott of Nashville's Grace Point Church watched images of the Capitol insurrection with a rising sense of alarm. That the unmistakable Christian elements were hard to miss. Jesus saves signs and flags, a tall wooden cross, the prayer thanking God, quote, for allowing the United States of America to be reborn. I was speechless and angry, said Scott, who pastors a non-denominational 350-member church, and I thought, what is this thing on TV that is masquerading itself as somehow being connected to the tradition of Jesus, who gave his life non-violently? That thing he came to realize is Christian nationalism, and he began speaking out about it from the pulpit. A loose consortium of Christian organizations whose members were just as scandalized as Scott has now produced a 3-session adult study curriculum called Responding to Christian Nationalism for pastors who want to educate church members. Published by the wonderful Baptist Joint Committee for Religious Liberty and Vote Common Good, which is another organization they've teamed up with. Baptist Joint Committee they haven't done it lately, but they have a great podcast series. If you look them up on your podcast player, it's really good. The curriculum defines Christian nationalism as a merging of Christianity with American identity. Quote, "It's a poison infecting our theology and our faith itself," said Amanda Tyler, executive director of BJC, speaking of Christian nationalism. "That's the concern that's driven a lot of the organizing around it. Founded by the Southern Baptists in 1936, the Baptist Joint Committee is an independent organization committed to protecting religious freedom and defending the separation of church and state. 2 years ago, BJC launched Christians Against Christian Nationalism, a statement signed by 22,000 Christians, mostly clergy, condemning Christian nationalism as a distortion of the gospel of Jesus and a threat to American democracy. The curriculum offers Bible passages to remind Christians that their ultimate loyalty should be to God, and examines how Christian nationalism may overlap with racism and white supremacy. Some Christian leaders have been critical of Christian nationalism well before the January 6th Capitol insurrection, particularly in the insistence among some white evangelicals that America was founded on biblical principles as a Christian nation. Wow, we just full circle. Our desire is to present Jesus as we find him in the gospel, not an Americanized, politicalized version of Jesus, says Rick McKinley, pastor of Imago Dei, a non-denominational Christian congregation in Portland, Oregon, who intends to use the curriculum. McKinley said there are risks for any pastor in that message. When he started pushing his church to address diversity and inclusion, he said he lost about 300 people who were not ready to abandon their view that being a good Christian and a patriotic American were intertwined. Pre-COVID-19, some 2,000 attended his church services each week. He thinks responding to Christian nationalism can offer a structured way for pastors to educate church members on the issue. Other Christian groups are competing with the curriculum's message from the opposite direction. One, the Center for Renewing American and Heritage Action for America, offers a toolkit for combating critical race theory, the academic framework for the study of systemic racism, which they believe is a threat to Christianity.
A toolkit.
Todd Blake, pastor of Madison Heights Baptist Church in Madison Heights, Virginia, and a trustee of Baptist Joint Committee, said his identity as a Baptist compels him to oppose Christian nationalism. Baptists historically opposed any government with an established religion or religious practice. Quote, "I don't want Christianity to have this favored place in American politics over and against people of other faiths or no faith," he said. "I want religious liberty, and I want my neighbor to have it too." End quote. Now, I picked that, hopefully, obviously, because to the atheists out there, particularly those of you who might be fresh and in the angry atheist phase and ready to burn religion to the ground, I get it. I know how you feel. I'm with you. Like, yes, I believe the world would be better off if religion didn't exist. However, that's not a snap your fingers, and I wouldn't want somebody to be compelled to make religion disappear overnight. And in the meantime, I feel like if we can get them to move forward a little bit, right? A more liberal church is better than not. Better than having them pull back on the rope. I think there's merit in saying, like, hey, there are Christians and faith leaders and churches and organizations who are with us, who are on the same page as us. Yep, religion should stay out of government. And like, if we go out and start, burning the crosses and saying religion should just disappear, we lose an opportunity to ally with those religious people on a common cause. Where I think we need their help. They need to be the ones to be like, hey, all y'all other Christians.
Yeah.
Read your Bibles, because this isn't right. This isn't what the Bible says.
Right.
We need that.
Yeah. Does it remind you of, or do you see the parallels between kind of like what like Muslims kind of go through sometimes with the, like, I know a Muslim person who is the kindest person I've ever met, and they say, and they tell me, this is what you see or what you think Muslim or the Islamic faith is. It's you know,
that's
out
not
in
my
the Middle East.
Islam.
That's not. It's about love, and it's
Yeah.
you know, and then but then you've got the radical fundamentalists that are. I feel like this is what's happening here. Is like the Christian nationalists are those radical Islamic fundamentalists, and then the other Christians are, you know, Jesus is love. And I feel like this is what's happening. But I mean, look at what's happened in the Middle East, though, and all of those Muslim nations and the turmoil. Is this what we're looking? This is what we look forward to.
Right.
I worry. I mean, I really worry with like the locking down of women, and
those people also tend to be the ones that are like, I want my guns, and they'll if it comes down to it, they'll take up guns against the rest of us.
Exactly, they're very violent to get their, and they it's just this is what I see. This is what scares me, is that I see the controlling of schools and like in libraries,
the
like
library,
right, and then women, and you know, next thing you know, we will be, you know, covered from neck to, we'll be in The Handmaid's Tale, basically. And this is what it's scary.
They want all the women pregnant all the time so that they can just keep popping out drones.
Populate and have their little followers. And,
I think there's a good argument in, hey, call us 253-900-2272, 253-900-2272. Tell us what you think about this or any of the other topics. I think there's maybe an argument to be made that, like, the Christianity of old is more directly analogous to Islam of today, as far as like the brutality and like, I mean, Christians spent a whole chunk of time like taking over the whole world, colonializing. And so I feel like the small L liberalization of Christianity, that over time they've, and I don't know. Yeah, they've chilled out a little bit.
Acceptance evolved. I mean, I feel like and
I think it's a necessary evolution. I think what you see right now with what was it? The Methodist Church just had their big fight over like, do we allow queer people and women and whatever?
Right.
And they had this big split over like, can women be clergy, and should we embrace queer like gay marriage and all of this stuff.
She says it just happened, but it was like a couple years ago.
It wasn't that long ago.
But still, like women in church. I mean, women
like
as clergy. That's
one
is 20.
Right.
But the Bible says, so the purists are saying, but the scriptures say this.
Right. Paul said a woman should be quiet and only ask her husband if she has questions. Ask her husband at home later.
Right. She should not speak to the congregation.
Right.
Like as in a
leadership capacity. But I think like the evolution in that is necessary, because women are like, fuck you, I'm not coming to your church anymore if this is how it's going to be.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's either, as a church, if I'm the pastor of a church or a leader of a sect, like, okay, well, we either change and get with the times, like, and it's slow incremental change over time. I get it, but slow. Like, because they're still so far behind. But we either get with it, or the 14 septuagenarians that are coming here every week are going to die soon, and that's it. There's no more of us. Like, our church is no more.
Those old ideas they're dying.
Yeah.
Hopefully. I mean.
So in the same way that like a church when I was a kid was, very stuffy, and we had a piano player, and you sat and listened to the sermon and stood up and sang when it's time to sing. And now you notice like all of these churches have that hip youth pastor with the goatee cool that like plays guitar, and they have big fucking screens behind them and flashy lights.
Set in the church we went to this past
big
for this
praise
wedding.
Band and stuff.
And like there's.
And they do that because they're trying to get the kids.
Because they're losing them. Because
they're losing
them. They know they are. And it's the desperation, the Christian desperation.
So I'm with you. My fear is what happens when that desperation reaches grab your guns, guys. Fever pitch. when
I feel like it's coming, honestly. I feel like it is. I don't know when, maybe 30 years, maybe 20, maybe 10, maybe next year. I don't know. But I feel like that desperation is going to reach a fever pitch. And I don't know.
I mean, they have already redesigned our government so that 30% of the population controls 60 to 80% of the government.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Christianity is a dwindling group in this country. The nuns are the fastest growing quote unquote religious demographic.
Right.
Really?
Yeah, the nuns, which is okay. So the nuns is like
nuns.
Right.
I'm sorry. I thought you meant NUNs. Like what?
Oh no.
Nuns. No, like nuns and habits. No.
Yeah.
Okay,
no, the religious nuns.
Not Sister Act nuns.
Yeah. The atheists and agnostics and the I believe the God is the universe man. Those kind of people. We're the largest growing group in America, and yet, again, like in the same way that our government is mostly white and mostly male and mostly Christian, like all along the way, like it does not represent the reality of the diversity of our country.
Right.
Absolutely. I wish we could just live and let live, man.
And they've changed all the voting, all of this voting restriction stuff you're seeing now is part of retaining that control.
Yep.
Yeah.
Desperation.
Good God, if you let black folks vote, they lose
power. They know their asses are wild. They know their asses are gone.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They scared. Yeah.
Another thing I wanted to talk about, we were just talking about Baptists. Let's talk about COVID-19 a little bit. So we'll talk about this more in the after show, but we went to Pennsylvania for a wedding, and I think we may have been the only people in the state of Pennsylvania wearing masks, and we're vaccinated. So but we have kids and they're not. And so I feel like we've gotten to this point where a lot of people are really feeling safe. Like we've really got this, where it's not like it was in the beginning where they were, bringing refrigeration trucks outside of the hospitals and shit.
Right.
Like, and so I think people are lulled into this false sense of security of like, oh, well, it was almost over. We're almost half vaccinated. Like, it's all good now.
Getting complacent.
But it's not.
That's when the spikes happen.
So first, and of course we're not, obviously we're vaccinated, all of us, but not everyone is.
I should say we weren't the only people in the whole state, because it's still a government mandate that you wear your mask in the airport, and they had to make the announcement every 5 minutes that it's this much of a fine or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
But that was it. Like that was it. Everywhere else
Just
we went.
Everywhere else. So this is from the Raw Story. Southern Baptists come home from an annual gathering with COVID-19. A small coronavirus outbreak has been linked to last month's annual Southern Baptist Convention meeting in Tennessee. The organization has not yet notified, this was as of the 12th, has not yet notified more than 15,000 evangelical Christians about the cluster of positive tests linked to the mid-June gathering at Nashville's Music City Center. Although health officials say the outbreak was large enough to justify alerting attendees from all 50 states. We have 8 to 10 cases confirmed, said Metro Health epidemiologist Leslie Waller. Do we assume there are more? Yes. Can we give you any idea as to how many more? No, we can't. Nashville lifted its mask mandate and gathering restrictions a month before the event, which drew its largest crowd since 1995. And few attendees wore masks or practiced social distancing at the event. Of course they didn't. It's not known whether any of the positive cases involved in the highly contagious Delta variant are responsible for many of the most recent outbreaks around the U.S., Waller said. Public polling has shown that evangelical conservatives, especially in the South, have the highest level of vaccine hesitancy of any other demographic group.
You don't say.
You don't say. Yeah.
And if they don't watch out, the Delta variant is going to go and ravage all that entire population.
Yep.
I was it Missouri? I think I read that there were places that were offering appointments in secret so that people who
no shit.
that people could get vaccinated and keep and then the people who were against vaccination could go ahead and get it, and then they wouldn't
right.
Then they could
wow. So
they're offering secret appointments so that you can stay on the down low, get vaccinated, and even though you were probably speaking out against it, but you can secretly, do that.
Right.
Wow, that's actually smart.
It's sad.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sad, but
it is sad. Yeah,
it's horrifying.
Like anything we can do to get this damn vaccine in people's arms at this point. Like, just come on, go.
I'll give you a gun if you get a vaccine. Like, I mean,
there you go.
Shots for shots.
Shots for shots.
Speaking of Missouri, this comes from the Florida Phoenix. While states such as Missouri have been in the news over a surge of COVID-19 cases, Florida too is seeing a spike in cases, according to the CDC. Again, this is also from July 12th. The newest key indicators from the CDC show that Florida has the highest number of new COVID cases, 5,790 in the U.S. and all territories. Florida also has the highest number of cases in the U.S. and all territories over a 7-day period, 23,747. We're number one. We're number one. Woo, Florida.
Are we tired of winning?
Yeah.
Yes. Based on the 7-day case rate per 100,000, Florida ranks third, and at a rate of 110.6, more than 3 times the nationwide average, which is a rate of 37.4.
Jeez.
Missouri has the highest 7-day rate, 165.4, and the second highest, Arkansas, is 161.7. Louisiana and Nevada are also above a rate of 100. The number of cases and rates in COVID-19 cases can be a concern in several areas, such as when schools open in the fall and not all children will be vaccinated.
That's so scary. That's
we were just
terrifying.
talking about this before the show. Like, where our kids are Florida said we're going back to school. Everybody's going back to school, and masks optional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that can happen in 3 weeks, honestly. Sadly, we'll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The CDC last week provided new guidance on mask wearing, saying fully vaccinated teachers, students, and staff would not need to wear masks this fall, but more than 1 million students younger than 12 will not be vaccinated in the fall, and the contagious variant called Delta has been surging in many parts of the country, including Florida. Also last week, Florida Senate Democrats wrote a letter to Governor Ron DeSantis saying, quote, as Florida joins other states eyeing a surging number of cases of the dangerous and fast-spreading COVID Delta variant, we, the undersigned members of the Senate Democratic Caucus, are urging you to join with your fellow Republican governors who are tapping the power of their office to strongly urge reluctant residents to get vaccinated. With the Delta variant now threatening both lives and livelihoods, and the infection rate rising once again, more than just a passing suggestion to vaccinate is urgently needed, especially as close to 50% of Floridians remain wholly unvaccinated. As governor of this nation's third largest state, it's incumbent on you to break through that reluctance and close the vulnerability gap with urgency and action.
You won't.
47% here in Florida have been fully vaccinated.
Yep.
Yep. Get your vaccines, y'all.
Please.
If you're still out there and you haven't gotten your vaccine yet, and it's available to you,
what in the world is wrong with you?
253-900-2272. If you listen to the show after we're live, like Friday nights at 6:30 Eastern, info at fif.show. I want to know why. What's holding you back? Where are you at this point? Yeah.
You could get the Delta variant and die from it.
Yeah.
As opposed to, those of us who are vaccinated could get it and still be ill.
Right.
But there's a good chance we've increased our chances of living because we've been vaccinated.
Well, and I know of a person locally, I won't even call them a friend, but just doesn't want the vaccine, doesn't have a good reason, not a strong argument against it, goes out, does whatever, not wearing a mask, gets COVID, gives it to the kid. Like legit, this happened, and I just, how,
what
why,
the hell?
what, and after the year we had, this kid has stayed home,
has done all the right things,
all the right things, and then last week of school, after finally going back, had to stay home to quarantine. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Can't we just do the right thing, if for nothing else but to protect our children,
other people,
and protect the people around us?
Yeah, let me go back 3 or 4 stories about protecting our children.
Right? Like, exactly.
You want to pass laws to keep trans kids from existing, but you won't get the fucking vaccine to protect some kids.
The priorities are so fucked up right now. I mean, it's just ridiculous. They care more about control than they do about the actual child's life. Or it's crazy.
I'm gonna jump the order here because we're talking about sort of. I want to talk about LGBTQ-affirming faith.
Okay. That's always nice.
This comes from Religion News Service. When the U.S. Supreme Court was hearing the Obergefell v. Hodges case that eventually made marriage equality a reality across the nation, pagans held rituals on the High Court's steps in Washington. This title of this article is "Paganism, Gods and Goddesses Aside, is the most LGBTQ-affirming faith in the U.S." If you count atheists as a faith, we would probably be number 1, but I wouldn't count us.
We're not a faith.
Whatever. Led by Firefly House, a local witchcraft community, these public rites called forth the, quote, spirit of justice and revolution and attracted pagans from around the country. When the decision was finally handed down, the community celebrated. In a recent political profile study, Kathleen Marchetti, an associate professor of political science at Dickinson College, reported that likely 93% of American pagans agree with policies supporting LGBTQ rights, a larger share than the 69% of non-pagans who do. According to March 2021 PRRI report, the pagan community collectively shows the highest support for LGBTQ individuals of any religious group. The next closest are white mainline Protestants at 82%, followed by Hispanic Catholics at 81%. That's interesting, isn't it?
That is very, very.
White mainline Protestants are up high, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's your youth pastor with the goatee and the guitar.
Could be.
Like, kind of
the hip,
the cool
church.
the
hipster, cool churches, right?
The cool churches.
Yeah.
New age, whatever.
Right. And no, I am not a scholar of paganism. I don't know a lot about it. Other than like, it reads as a little wooey to me. But otherwise, I don't see it as like harmful or anything. Like
I had my palm read once. It was fun.
I mean, I don't think it's harmful.
You
They're not
should
trying
tell
to pass
that
any
story
laws.
for the patrons.
Oh, that's a good story, and it's kind of creepy.
Okay.
It's really weird how spot on the palm reading was.
I want to do it. I kind of want to do it just because I'm curious. But I mean, they don't really do any harm. They don't. They're not trying to pass any laws. They're not trying to force their shit on people.
Right.
I say live and let live. I mean, if only Christians could be that way.
Right.
I'd be cool with it. I feel people believe whatever they want. Just leave me alone. But I would be totally down for some palm reading.
There were some interesting stories that come out of this article too. Marchetti went so far as to say that support for LGBTQ rights was connected to pagan religious identity. That sounds about right, said David Salisbury, a pagan author and LGBTQ advocate. Pagans have always been seen as outliers and oddballs, which accounts for the level of empathy expressed, he said. That makes sense. I often talk about, like, it should be more the case than it actually is, but, like, all of us who are fighting for our rights and those who have come before us fighting for their rights should all like recognize that common bond and be on a team together. Not always the case. In the 1990s, it was adults creating these spaces and beginning the narratives on these topics. They invited young people to participate, Salisbury explained. The pendulum has swung in the opposite direction. Today, the youth are taking charge, especially in online spaces. Brianne Raven Wolf, a pagan trans woman and leader of an annual Trans Day of Remembrance ritual, said that when she first openly joined the pagan community, she was blown away at how accepting it was. When they invite you to sit around the campfire and drink mead, that sounds like a very pagan-y thing to do, that, to me, is accepting. Some pagan groups have introduced what Salisbury called queer mythology into their practice, incorporating deities, such as the Greek god Dionysus, traditionally accepted as queer. In some instances, mythologies and practices that skew toward a heterosexual understanding of sexuality in the world, such as Wiccan god and goddess myths, have been reinterpreted. These details are crucial to Salisbury's own religious practice. He said, "Paganism is so experiential that I need to see myself within the spirituality that I'm practicing." So kind of build your own religion. Cleo Ahana, a pagan leader in Minnesota, explained how her group, House of Our Lady of Celestial Fire, ooh, that sounds fun.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah, I want to party with these people.
Yeah.
Has been a queer haven since its 1998 founding. We have always focused on our queer ancestors, ancients, deities, and facilitating those members in coming out, especially those who are trans and younger pagans who are just searching. Another queer-focused group, the Minoan Brotherhood, calls itself on its website an initiatory tradition of the craft celebrating life, men loving men, and magic. Interesting. Pagan
She's
groups.
considering it now.
Let's go. I'll check it out.
Pagan,
yeah, let's do it.
But even pagan groups that aren't centered on queer practice increasingly make room for LGBTQ people in conversations. Brianne Raven Wolf, pagan trans woman and leader, said that she has seen more non-binary rituals at pagan events and a growing willingness to talk about diversity and inclusion.
Mm-hmm.
While LGBTQ pagans feel comfortable inside the community, they often feel threatened outside it. Raven Wolf is no longer out as a trans woman or pagan in her local community in western New York State. It is too dangerous. There is escalating violence. We have to protect our lives. And some admit that hostility is not completely absent from the pagan community, despite the higher percentage of support. Well, there's assholes in every group.
Yeah.
We definitely have ours in the atheist circles. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm going to become a pagan now. Look it up. No, I'm not. And then finally, should we save that one for the patron too? Maybe? I don't know. We got time. Okay. So, Kath, if you've been following along, the Catholic churches in Canada,
oh God,
they have been finding these unmarked graves, mass graves of children.
Of children near all these churches.
Yeah. Yeah. The schools. Yeah.
Schools.
The religious.
But they were
schools.
religious run.
Right. And they learned that from their great brethren to the south, the United States of America, in the way we rounded up indigenous people and shipped them off to culture training camps to suck their native heritage away from them. And
so horrifying.
Yep.
It is.
And
it just like every time I see anybody who's obviously like Indian from America, I just want to go up to them and like hug them and apologize to them for the stupid white people.
Yeah.
The genocide. I mean, it is so.
So the great thing though is that we have been seeing Canadians respond in force, and they're not fucking around. I mean, burning churches to the ground.
Yeah.
Painting like blood marks and handprints and shit on the front door of church. One of those churches and the parish priest or whatever he is, was like, you know what, we're going to leave this because this is like a fair monument to what happened here. Like, I recognize that we didn't do it, but it's in our past.
It was done. It's in,
this will serve as a reminder to what happened here and a memorial in a way. But we're also seeing now some Catholics, and we've been asking this question for so long, with all the sex abuse scandals and all of that shit. Like, at what point do you turn in your Catholic card? Come on.
Right.
Walk away.
It has been time to quit the Catholic Church for a long damn time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
they're not big on treating kids real well. So, I mean, come on.
Nope. But it's starting to happen. So this is from the CBC. Why some Catholic Quebecers are turning their backs on the church over residential schools. Warning, this story contains details some readers may find distressing. I don't know if we'll get that far or not, but we'll see. On Canada Day, while thousands of Montrealers gathered to denounce the country's legacy of Indian residential schools, Danielle Poirier was protesting in her own way. She was submitting her apostasy, formally renouncing her Roman Catholic faith. I wanted to poser un acte, to do something concrete and official that said, I'm really disappointed, she said. For me, doing that with the church and demanding apostasy was the thing that seemed to be the most relevant. Like many Quebecers, Poirier grew up immersed in Catholicism, but like others around the world, she has been distancing herself from the church for the past few years. Apostasy takes place when someone who was baptized in the church publicly and completely rejects their faith. The recent discoveries of unmarked burial sites near former residential schools across the country and the subsequent lack of apology by the Pope and the Catholic Church as an institution were the tipping point that brought about her official break. For me, it was something to say it's official. Walk the talk, she said to CBC Montreal's Daybreak. Their numbers may not be huge, but other Quebecers are doing the same. The church does not compile province-wide figures, but in a statement, the Quebec City Catholic Diocese said that it has seen an increase in the number of requests for apostasy. Usually we receive between 3 and 5 per month. In June, we received 16, 6 of which explicitly mentioned the residential school issue, the diocese director of communications said in a statement. Valerie Roberge-Dion. But Roberge also pointed out that close to 1 million Catholics are still part of the diocese despite the current crisis. Hopefully we can change that. Kim Virault, a resident of Granby, east of Montreal, is another Quebecer in the process of submitting her apostasy after growing up Catholic. I wanted to show my support to the First Nations, she said. So I wanted to send a strong message and say, well, I'm done. I don't want my name to be attached to the Catholic religion anymore. For Virault, whose mother was a former nun, the lack of apology from Pope Francis is what drove her to take an official stance. In early June, the Pope addressed the residential school issue from his balcony overlooking St. Peter's Square at the Vatican. While he expressed sorrow for the discoveries, he did not apologize. Quote, "With sorrow, I follow the news from Canada about the shocking discovery of the remains of 215 children, pupils at the Kamloops Indian Residential School in the province of British Columbia," he said. "I join the Canadian bishops and the whole Catholic Church in Canada in expressing my closeness to the Canadian people who have been traumatized by this shocking news." Later that month, the Canadian Conference of Catholic Bishops announced a delegation of First Nations would meet with the Pope later this year between December 17th and 20th. While the Pope and Catholic Church have yet to apologize, Montreal Archbishop Christian Lapine issued an apology to the Indigenous communities for the role the Church played in the residential school system in Quebec. "Our most fundamental values are undermined when the integrity of families and the respect due to every human being are so blatantly disregarded," Lapine said. In this instance, the Church was dramatically out of step with Jesus Christ. For both Poirier and Virault, however, an apology from the Pope is needed. "Why wait so long and meet the First Nations at the end of December?" Virault asked. "An apology should be automatic." So here's the thing. What's it going to take? my Catholics out there, what's it going to take for you to finally turn away from this awful institution, this criminal organization that hides predators, that moves sex offenders of young children around so that they won't be held liable to local laws? How can you still... I could not imagine walking into Mass and feeling okay in my soul, knowing that this stuff goes on in my organization. I couldn't do it. And I don't understand why you all do either.
Yeah.
Walk away. And you're welcome to call and bitch about that too if you want to tell me why are you still Catholic? Call and tell us that too.
Yeah. And I saw something the other day. It's like, you don't have to. It doesn't have to happen to you for it to matter to you.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And
but for so many,
but
it
a
seems
lot
it
of
does.
people, it's just like, well, that's
Yeah.
that's not me. That's not. It's fine, And then it happens to them,
and they think that because it hasn't happened to them, it's not happening in their church because they don't know about it happening.
Right.
And
not
that's
my parish.
Right. Oh, that's just something that doesn't happen where and I'm like, it doesn't matter, and it probably is.
Right.
So
and you wouldn't know. That's the whole point. You wouldn't know
about
it if it was.
They got
my
help
God.
covering that shit up.
It's just so.
And my question is for the people expecting an apology from the Pope.
How will that make it
actually
better?
do? Yeah. What for the genocide that occurred? What does it's just? What does it do?
And what does it really do when it's not even the Pope that was in control at the time?
Right.
Right.
It's a nice thought, but it's not going to bring anybody back. It's not going to make anybody feel any less trauma.
Yeah.
It's
granted,
it's lip service.
It is. It's total lip service. No, granted, he should be doing more than just a lame, oh, my condolences.
I'm so sad.
So I'm so sorry this happened to you, because he's the head of the institution that did it, and not a whole lot's changed.
How about we'll take our gazillions of dollars and give some of it to First Nations groups and recovery
I want your fucking apology. Help me rebuild
They're paying out all these billions of dollars to abuse victims. They should be paying out money for these communities that need therapy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
Yep. And then finally tonight, I'm so disgusted at the.
Is there anything good going on?
The billionaire space race.
I'm this is so stupid, you guys. Billionaire Richard Branson reaches space in his own ship. This is from Florida Politics. I'll read some of it.
Stupid.
Who wrote this?
I don't.
I think this was an AP story. Swashbuckling entrepreneur Richard Branson hurtled into space aboard his own winged rocket ship
Does it really
Sunday, and it says swashbuckling entrepreneur.
God, it actually says that.
Sunday,
hurtled into space
in his boldest adventure yet, beating out fellow billionaire Jeff Bezos. People are starving and sleeping under fucking bridges. I'm not reading any more of this story.
And two rich guys are trying to see who's
got the bigger dick
first. Exactly. This is all little dick energy.
Yep.
That's happening.
Oh, it's so horrible.
I love space and science.
Yeah, me
the
too.
next guy.
Right.
Yep.
But
if you were going there to build a colony to move homeless people to space, fine.
No, I wouldn't even accept that.
No,
because that's just trying to get rid of people.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
but
that's just trying to spread our.
You got all this money.
Virus to someplace else.
Yeah. Of all the things you could have spent that money on, if I think, again, we talked about this. Was that last show or 2 shows ago? If I had $1 million, if I had the money, what would I do with it? And it's not that. It's not let me build a rocket and fly in it, and just because I want to beat this other guy and
I want them to compete on ending world hunger. Or
something viable,
pick a country.
sustainable.
Yeah, pick a country and say, let's see who who solves
Yeah.
their infrastructure problem first.
Yeah. Yes.
And then compete with that.
Yep.
But go into these third world countries where these kids are walking around drinking mud water out of puddles because there ain't nothing else for them to drink.
Right.
And fix that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Water. Crops.
Go to Flint, Michigan and fix that water problem. Go to
Yep.
And you could go with billions of dollars and fix all kinds of little problems and make a difference.
Yeah.
Yep.
It doesn't even have to be some big thing, but just try.
Just do it.
All of the science and research it took to do that could have been
such a waste.
Directed to something good, something to help the people here on Earth.
Right.
I don't know, man.
It just pisses me off. I'm so mad about it.
Yeah, I stopped reading the stuff as it was coming in because I just didn't want to see any of it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I love science like the next person, but come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, the thing is, the space program that the country operates, right? Like, there was a noble cause of like being the first to put a man on the moon or whatever. Like all of this, like truly to break barriers and do things that hadn't been done before and explore and like there was something really special to that to be gained in that.
Right.
And it brought a lot of people together, like a nation. It brought the U.S. together in a space race against who can, like, and this is just what these companies are going to start selling commercial space flights. This is just capitalism fucking things up again. Stop it.
Yep.
And then rich people are just going to be like, well, I'm going to go on the next one. And they're going to pay like millions of dollars to just go up into space for a few minutes and then come back down.
Yeah.
And it would be one thing if they were using any of those millions of dollars to do any amount of good for people that are here, but they're not.
Right.
No,
they're just going to go buy another. They're just going to go buy another rocket ship. It's their new yacht.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. It's their new Corvette. You know, this is the new midlife crisis. Is like, let's go to space. I'm going to space.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Yep. It's dumb and I'm mad about it.
Well, I'm done talking about
it's 8:00, so let's wrap the show up then, and then come to the Patreon segment. We're going to talk about our trip to Pennsylvania and some palm reading and focus on the family and all kinds of good stuff. So hey, what's everybody got going on? What you got coming up, Allie? What's going on?
So speaking of like other, countries that are in need, our FBB, Foundation Beyond Belief, our fireside chat's coming up the 28th, and we're gonna have our Ghanaian person coming to talk to everyone about what's going on in Ghana.
Nice.
So lots of stuff's going on in Ghana. So I think this will be really, really interesting. I think it's been a bit quiet. We've been a bit quiet about what's going on in Ghana. So I think this will shed some light on what's happening. So I'm excited.
Yeah, that'll be good. Becca, what do you got going on? Anything coming up?
Oh, school starts in 3 weeks. Watching this Delta variant, trying to
crazy 3 weeks. I feel like school just let out.
I know it. This summer, for as long as we've been home, this summer just flew by. I mean, we were home all year last year doing virtual, and this summer just seemed like it just did not last nearly as long as it should have. So I got some school shopping to do and get some kids prepared for going to school in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah.
Other than that, not much on the short end.
All right. Well, we want to remind everybody that the atheist community of Polk County is sponsoring a scholarship with Secular Student Alliance. There are actually several scholarships in the state of Florida and all over the place, all over the country that you can apply for. Plus, everyone that applies is automatically registered for the Secular Student Alliance main scholarship.
Cool.
I typed in the wrong address just now, but it'll take you there too. You can go to polkatheists.org/scholarship or fif.show/scholarship. Do the other one because that way I want to know where people are coming from when they click on those, go to those links. August 31st is the deadline, so get that done. You have just a little bit of time left, and it shows you all the questions that you have to answer, so you have time to like work on your responses before you even start the process. See if it's a right fit for you. Again, we're doing $1,000, and there's other organizations that are doing different amounts. So check that out.
Question.
Yes.
So for the scholarship, is this something that you do every year, or?
This is new for us this year.
Okay.
This is the first year that the atheist community of Polk County is doing one.
Mm-hmm.
But the Florida Humanist Association does one. There's a whole bunch of a bunch of different ones. This is the first year for us. So for ours, we are hoping to get candidates who are going to school in Polk County or who hail from Polk County going to school somewhere else.
Okay.
That we'll be selecting from. But we have no idea what we're going to get yet, so go fill it out.
That's cool. That was my question, is like, do you need to be from Polk County, or?
The different ones have different restrictions.
Okay.
The Florida Humanist Association one, and I think CFFC does one too.
Yeah.
Are statewide, so you have to be in school in the state of Florida. Yeah, and again, there's a whole bunch of different ones, so yeah, check that out.
Sweet.
Still working on a presentation that Devin and I are going to go on a herding cats roadshow to sort of get people jazzed back up as hopefully COVID is ending, Delta variant notwithstanding. Hopefully that we're back to like getting together and doing the things. And so we want to like get out there and remind people, what these groups are really about and how effective you can be at all the different things, like the ACEs program that the American Atheists employs, that a lot of our chapters with American Atheists use, which is activism, community education, and service. It's been slightly retooled. But if you groups that do all of those things tend to be the more successful groups, the more that they do. Kind of tick all those boxes for all the different types of people who might come to a secular group. So we want to like remind people like, hey, don't forget to do like, how can we do all these things and get back engaged? Because COVID shut down a lot of things. But also, we talked about this earlier in the show, the Healthcare Transparency Act. We're going to talk a little bit about that and get people educated about it and on board so that down the road, hopefully we're going to have a sponsor to introduce that into the Florida legislature. And we'll have, when that does happen, we'll have local groups and members and people already knowledgeable about it and on board and ready to contact their lawmakers to say, hey, you should co-sponsor that, or I want you to vote for that. So that's another thing that we're going to be talking about during that. It can be virtual. We might be traveling depending on COVID things. But if you have a group and you want to have us come speak, either about that, or I can bring my as soon as I get it updated, my Project Blitz presentation. I'd be happy to do that for your group too. info@fif.show. And then finally, I have the American Humanist Association conference is coming up. Is that right? Yes, it is. Oh, why didn't it change? Oh, because I typed it in the wrong thing. God damn it. See, when I plan...
You're so pretty.
Oh, thanks. If you go to conference.americanhumanist.org and use code FIF5, you'll get $5 off that conference. Just for being a cool listener, watcher, viewer of the show. So that's next weekend, July 24th and 25th, and there are some other activities that are taking place sort of around those dates, but that's the main conference dates, 24th and 25th. Tiff Ho from Foundation Beyond Belief and I are going to present on humanist service. That's on Saturday the 24th at 1 p.m. Eastern. And there's a bunch of great speakers. Foundation Beyond Belief does their annual awards, the Heart of Humanism Awards. Dr. Fauci was just named Humanist of the Year, and he will be offering remarks during the conference.
So amazing.
That's so awesome. Yeah. I was just reading an article about that where he sort of spoke to his humanist identity. And so I thought that was great. And then it's a good time. So, again, go to conference.americanhumanist.org to get your tickets. $5 off with code FIF5. There you go. That's all I've got going on. So, thanks, everybody. Show adjourned. Next week on the show, that's next Friday night at 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific. I don't have a show planned. Waiting on hearing back from a couple of different people that we might have on as guests. Otherwise, it'll be all of us chatting and talking again. But that's okay too, because I like us. We're fun.
I like us. We're cool.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We're cool. All right. So that's going to do it for this episode of Freethought in Florida. Freethought in Florida is available on YouTube, Facebook, and all the popular podcast players. You can find all of the subscribe links at fif.show. And my music's not playing. This is annoying me.
Do I need to make some music? Ding, ding, ding,
Oh,
ding,
Jesus
ding,
Christ,
ding,
no,
ding.
please stop. Please stop. Please
I'm
stop.
helping.
You can find all the subscribe links at fif.show and send us an email to info@fif.show. Please like, subscribe, share out the episodes, help us reach a broader audience. And of course, remember the 3 most important things: wash your hands, get your vaccine, and be kind to each other. That's it. Be safe, everybody. We'll see you next week on Freethought in Florida.